5-HTP is the compound your body turns directly into serotonin. That part isn't in dispute. What gets left out of most videos on this is where that conversion actually happens and how thin the mood evidence really is underneath the marketing. A Cochrane systematic review screened 108 studies on 5-HTP and tryptophan for depression. Only 2 trials covering 64 people total met its quality bar. Those trials trended toward benefit over placebo, but the reviewers said the evidence was too limited to recommend routine use. A 1987 review of the antidepressant trials available at the time found real signal for 5-HTP with relatively few adverse effects, but called for larger, better controlled studies. That call only got partly answered in the decades since. A small 2025 randomized study is the newest data, but it's worth being exact about what it showed. 30 generally healthy older adults not diagnosed with depression took either 100 milligrams of 5-HTP or a no supplement control nightly for 12 weeks. Their depression scale score improved from a low baseline by week 8. In one of the few controlled anxiety trials, 45 adults with an anxiety disorder were randomized to 5-HTP, the antidepressant clomipramine, or placebo. 5-HTP produced a moderate reduction in anxiety scores versus placebo, clearly less than clomipramine, and it didn't help the depressive symptoms that often come with anxiety. Here's the mechanism most content skips. The enzyme that converts 5-HTP to serotonin, AADC, isn't confined to the brain. It's abundant in the gut wall and liver too. Oral 5-HTP can undergo this peripheral decarboxylation before it ever reaches the central nervous system. Serotonin made peripherally can't cross the blood-brain barrier. It stays outside the central nervous system and can instead contribute to gastrointestinal effects like nausea and vomiting, since serotonin acts on receptors in the gut wall too. In a small study of 5 patients, all also taking a decarboxylase inhibitor, oral 5-HTP reached peak plasma concentration at roughly 1.8 to 3.3 hours, with dose and exposure rising in rough proportion. A separate study in healthy subjects, also using carbidopa pretreatment, reported a biological half-life of roughly 2.2 to 7.4 hours. Carbidopa, a prescription decarboxylase inhibitor, markedly raises plasma 5-HTP in research settings, a research tool, not something in any over-the-counter product. Because 5-HTP raises serotonin, combining it with a serotonergic antidepressant, an SSRI, SNRI, or MAOI, creates a plausible, potentially serious risk of serotonin toxicity. A published case report describes exactly that interaction, causing serotonin syndrome and rhabdomyolysis in a patient also taking sertraline. In the late 1990s, researchers found contaminant peaks, the peak X family, in every commercial 5-HTP sample tested, similar to the contamination behind the 1989 L-tryptophan eosinophilia myalgia syndrome outbreak. I hold every MIHIYO formulation to 2 metrics, bioavailability and time to peak plasma concentration, neither measured for the mood boost strip itself. It pairs 5-HTP with L-theanine, designed around the peripheral conversion mechanism above, without claiming transmucosal absorption that hasn't been established in human studies. 5-HTP has a real, well-described mechanism and limited, dated, but directionally positive evidence for depressed mood specifically. The case for anxiety is weaker. If you're on a serotonergic medication, treat 5-HTP as a drug interaction question for your prescriber, not a supplement aisle decision.